Have you ever had to deal with daily calls from a debt collection agency? How does it make you feel to receive someone on the phone borderline harassing you over a debt that you may or may not owe? Have you been impacted by collections when trying to establish new credit? Has your credit score been impacted by these unwanted collections? And are you or someone you know currently dealing with the hassle of having a collection removed from your credit report? This video is just for you. Hey, look, there's also a playlist above with more helpful credit repair videos, so make sure to check those out. Hello and welcome to Ask the Lender. This is your go-to place for all things housing, credit, and little-known wealth building strategies that could also provide you tax-free money in retirement. My name is Ferrier, and I'm a branch manager as well as a licensed loan originator. I work with people every day who are experiencing this same headache. And you won't want to miss this video as I share my story that recently happened when I discovered a collection on my credit report. Make sure to stick around to the end when I bring in my go-to guy for all things credit related. I call him the Jedi Master of credit repair and improvement, Jonas Mitchell. And Jonas is going to let you know the scoop on what to do as well as what not to do in this annoying situation. But before we get started, do us a favor and like, share, and comment on this video, making sure to subscribe and clicking that bell right there to get notified when more new videos are published, because this really helps the algorithm know that this content and information should be in front of more people. Last week, I started receiving calls from a debt collector related to a cable bill I had with an internet service provider last year. And in August of last year, I closed that account when I moved with an understanding that I had a zero balance. I made sure to log into my account in September the following month to pay the remaining bill. So you can imagine how surprised and pissed off I was when I received a call from an unknown number telling me that the purpose of the call was to collect a debt related to my previous internet service. I told the person on the other line that, hey, I need proof that this was in fact money that I owed. They said that they would send me something in the mail. I haven't received it yet, so in the meantime, I decided to do a soft pull on my credit report to see what was showing. And sure enough, I had a collection for $67, but that wasn't the worst part. I noticed that my score had dropped from a 737 to a 639 as a result. Over a $67 bill that I never received in the mail or even an email. To my knowledge, the debt was paid. So how would you feel? Would you be angry, upset, or all of the above? Well, look, I was as well. So I decided to call my guy Jonas Mitchell of Scribble to see what steps I could take to resolve this issue. And you want to be careful just paying the debt collector, as they in most cases take your money and run. They do not remove this negative item from your credit report, and once they have the money, they simply don't care. They don't want to help you out. So let's go ahead and bring in Jonas to share what steps you can take to handle this situation. Hey Jonas, thank you so much for taking time to share this helpful information. So if you or someone you know are watching have issues with credit, make sure to listen to what Jonas is going to tell you. So Jonas, if there was someone in a situation like myself who maybe you know that you had a collection, or maybe you were surprised like me, what steps should someone take to deal with the situation and have it removed? And also, what steps should they avoid? And what would the consequences be for doing the wrong thing?
Certainly, Rod, and I'd be happy to answer this question for you. First off, I would like to point out the fact that debt collectors, the credit bureaus, they really don't care about your situation. They don't care if you were sick. They don't care if you lost your job. They don't care if you forgot to make a payment. It doesn't matter whatever happened. Once something hits your credit report, if it is something that actually happened, then it's going to stay there. And that's just the reality of the situation. So I would like to start there because sometimes people get in disputes with their doctor, or maybe they crash a car and the gap insurance doesn't kick in and they don't want to pay for a car that's not theirs, or maybe they broke up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend they were on a joint, loan, and then they decided not to do it. So there are many different scenarios where a debt can show up on your credit reports, and most people simply decide not to pay it. Now, in your situation, you had the opposite, and unfortunately, this does happen all the time. And again, they usually will not care, but someone moves, and whenever you move, a bill is sent to the old address, so of course you never see it, and then there's no contact, there's no nothing from the original creditor, and ultimately what ends up happening is you get the late payment, you get the collection. Ultimately, after 6 months, you get the charge off, and then they turn it over to the debt collector, and that's when someone finally decides to call you. So unfortunately, that's just the way that they do business, and there's again nothing that we can do about it as far as it being there right now. Okay, now how can we have it removed? It's a different question, but there's nothing that we can do about it being there. They're going to put it there. They did put it there, and it's going to stay if you do nothing. Okay.
Okay.
So the question was, what do we do now that we have this on our credit reports? So the first question you want to ask yourself is this a legitimate debt? Okay. What I mean by that is, was it in your name? So in your case, you did have the cable
Mm-hmm.
service, and somehow they said that you owed a debt that you claimed that you didn't. But it is legitimate because it's with the company that you had a contract with.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be considered a legitimate debt. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So calling them and simply saying, "Hey, I never got the bill," they're not going to care. Okay. Again, unfortunate but true. So the
And that's
first
even if
option
you
that we're going to
move.
do,
Pardon the interruption. Like
and
I
that's even if you
moved to a
move.
complete different area, and had given my forwarding mailing address to the post office for all things to be done. So I'm just sharing that because maybe someone watching has, hey, I moved and I forwarded my mail, but I never got it. You're saying that company's just not going to care. That's probably a common excuse, right?
That is very, very common, right? And they've heard it all. So, who's to say that you're telling the truth versus not telling the truth like everybody else? So, if it did happen, it technically can go on your credit report, and that is what ends up happening. So, it will go there. Now, the first recommendation that I'm going to have is if you know that it's a legitimate debt, in this case, $67, would you be happy to pay that $67 or they're going to remove it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely, right? So there's no harm, no foul here. Look, I pay my bills on time. I had a 700 plus credit score. I'm very responsible. This is clearly a mistake. And so when you call, or the first thing I would do is call that debt collector first. Okay,
Okay.
so
Call
whoever
the
that
debt
third party
collector
debt
because
collector
this
is,
is
or they'll probably call you. Right? Either way, you need to get on the phone with them. There's no point in speaking to that first line person because they can't remove anything from your credit reports. So you want to speak with a manager. Now, one thing I always share with my clients whenever we're walking people through this process is that you want to be polite. By no means do you want to ever raise your voice. Even if they're being difficult with you, you stay calm and you stay polite because these people deal with the worst people all day long, right? Because you're trying to collect the debt. And so they're hearing, F you, go kill yourself, all the other excuses that people
oh
share
yeah, sure,
with debt collectors
sure.
all day long, right?
To maintain
So
your composure,
that's
calm, cool, collective.
absolutely calm, cool, collected at all times. Even if they start to get out of hand, you can simply ask them, "Hey, John, it looks like you're having a bad day, right? And I'm sorry that you're having a bad day, but realistically, you and I are both having a bad day because I have something that's reporting on my credit report and it's not supposed to be there." Okay, so while I
So
understand
at
that you
what
are doing
point,
your job,
pardon the interruption, at what point
mhm,
would you ask them to speak to a manager? Do you go through
right
the
away.
whole process with them?
Nope, nope, right away. So you're just going to give them a call and very politely ask for a manager. So they get on the phone. Hi, this is XYZ company, debt collector, whatever. How can I help you? Hi, my name is Jonas. I have a question about one of the accounts that you guys have with me. Can you do me a favor and connect me with the manager, please? Okay. Now they're going to try to handle it right then and there. I actually think they hate being transferred to a manager. I don't know if that is like it looks frowned upon that they're not able to do their job. But either
Probably.
way, a lot of times you do get pushback. So you simply want to let them know, hey, I understand that you're doing your job, and this has nothing to do with you. I simply have a question that's for a manager. Okay.
Okay.
So stay polite, continue to ask kindly until you do get on with the manager. Once the manager comes in, then you simply want to let them know exactly what's going on. I always say that the truth shall set you free. So we don't have to make up excuses. Even if you flat out miss the payment, like if it's a $25 credit card payment that I've definitely seen people miss, just because they were busy, right? They were in college and it was midterms and they completely forgot about everything else because they were focused on something that was very, very important and they forgot to make the $25 payment. Okay? Not that big of a deal. Don't kill my entire ability to buy a home or refinance a home or have a high interest rate on a car for a $25 payment. Come on, that's
Okay.
ridiculous.
All
Right?
right. So once you get the
So,
manager on the phone, what do we do then?
okay, so here's what it looks like. Again, we're telling the truth. So I'm going to use your specific case here as what I would say. So, hi, my name is Jonas. Your name is Rod. Hi, Rod. Look, the reason for my call today is because I recently started receiving phone calls from your company, and to my surprise, I checked my credit report and noticed that there was something that was reporting on my credit reports from you guys or from Cox. It says that it's a Cox bill. Now, what ended up happening was I moved from one location to this next location. I would be happy to provide proof of when I moved so that you can see that I'm not telling any stories. I did, in fact, move. So I never received the bill from Cox. Now, look, I have no problems with paying this debt if you and I agree um, to remove this from my credit reports. Okay.
Okay.
Now, there are some times where people will say, "Well, don't acknowledge that the debt is yours." In the real world, when it comes to things like credit repair, it doesn't matter if the debt is yours or not. That's not how you get a debt removed. If you're going to go through credit repair, you attack essentially the accuracy of the reporting and things of that nature. And a lot of times, when it comes to debt collectors, they'll go away anyway. So it doesn't make that big of a deal in this case because we're simply telling the truth of what happened. And we need to get them to understand exactly what happened. And then you just let them know, look, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. My credit scores were in the 700s and now they're not. So hopefully you can put yourself in my shoes and understand exactly what's going on. Now, here's the important part. I spoke with the credit bureaus, even if you haven't, right? I spoke with the credit bureaus and they told me that they would be happy to report whatever you all report. So if I pay this and you guys simply remove it from reporting, then it will come off my credit report and nothing else uh, will happen and everyone can go about their way. Okay, and so can you see where I'm coming from, John? Yes. Okay, great. So is there any way that you can help me? Because right now I genuinely am stuck between a rock and a hard place. What can we do about this?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. You want to be very kind. You want to tell the truth, and you want to give them the facts. Okay.
Got you.
Let them know that you are more than willing to provide the proof. So at that point, most sensible people will go ahead and remove it at that point. Okay, most will, I do believe, will remove it because we have people call and give these types of stories, and most of the time they will come off. Now, every now and then you meet someone and they're just not very nice people. They don't care. Maybe they're having a bad day. You can make that same phone call. You can ask to speak with a manager multiple times. Just hang up the phone, wait a few hours, call back, maybe you get someone else. Okay. If that doesn't work, hang up, call back the next day. I will give it at least 4 or 5 attempts before we just completely give up and say, okay, there's nothing that's going to happen here. Okay. Because it is their choice as to whether or not they're going to delete the account or not.
Okay.
Okay. So that's option one. We're very nice. We're playing ball here. Look, it's a legitimate debt. It's okay. All right. Option two, that doesn't work. Now, most of the time, debts are sold to third-party debt collectors, but not all the time. And so, another strategy that we've used that has worked for people is you call the original creditor, and you just want to see if the debt was actually sold. Now, you're not going to ask them if it was sold or not. You're simply going to call the original company, and you're going to ask to see if you can make a payment. That's all you want to know. Can I make a payment? If you can make a payment, then technically that original company still has control of that debt. If you cannot, and they tell you, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's been transferred to another department," we have to transfer it to them, and that transfer leads you back to the debt collector, then that means that it has been sold.
Okay.
Okay. So if you're able to make a payment with that original company, Same thing. Once we verify, we do not want to continue speaking with the primary person there. Ask to speak with the manager. You're going to give them the exact same story.
Okay, so in
Same
every
story.
case, we want to get to a decision maker.
Absolutely. You
Okay,
always want to get to a decision maker. Okay.
gotcha.
Now, sometimes people ask, well, hey, Jonas, if they say that they're going to remove it, do I have to get proof? I can tell you with 100% uh, um, accuracy that most of the time I've seen people not get proof. Okay? If they'll give you the proof, great. If they won't give you the proof, it should still come off your credit report. I haven't seen anyone make a payment and not have it removed. Has it ever happened? Maybe. I don't know everyone in America, but all the people that I do know that has gone through this process and they have made the payment without getting proof, it still comes off. Okay,
Okay,
so you want to ask for proof. Oh, sure. Can you send me an email that shows that it's going to be removed? If they say no, unfortunately, we can't do that, don't worry. They don't want that being leaked to the internet so that everyone understands that, hey, this is something that you can do. Okay. So that's the second option. Now, unfortunately, those are going to be the only free options that you're going to have. You can go a little bit further. You can write a letter to corporate for either the company that you're with. So in this case, you were with Cox. So you can write a letter to corporate if you want to take it that far. Usually, writing a letter to the corporate office for a debt collector company, that's not going to matter. But writing to Cox may matter. Again, if you find out that you can make a payment, but then that um, manager still decides not to remove the account because, hey, you missed the payment, sorry, so we have to report what's there, and that's the excuse they're going to give. Then in that case, you writing a letter to corporate, you utilizing the exact same story will work. Okay. Now, the address to send that letter to will be on your credit report. So if you check your credit report, whether it's from Credit Karma, you have a third party like Identity IQ, or uh, maybe your bank provides a free credit report. Wherever you're getting that credit report from, that account for whoever this company is should be listed on there.
okay.
Okay. Otherwise, that's a violation. So it will definitely be there.
So just to
All right. So
recap
that's
before
option number
we
three.
before we get
Okay.
to that, just to do a quick recap on what to do and what not to do. It sounds like number one thing to do, whoever you are speaking to on the phone, guys, be nice, be polite. Honey is what you need to use. Just be sweet. The person on the other end, they're just doing their job and they probably hate it. So be nice to them. That's going to be completely different than what they're experiencing. The second thing that Jonas shared is to always make sure you get to the decision maker. The person that is taking that phone call, they're not in management, they don't have authority to make these decisions. So be nice to them, let them know you appreciate their time, but you have a question for management and address it with the decision maker. The third thing that I hear is to be persistent. It may take a couple of calls getting to a different manager who is willing to help. The third thing that really could have been in the first is to be honest, to be truthful. That way you don't have to worry about the tangled web that you were putting together during this process. The next thing is you have options. You can talk to the debt collection company if it's there. You can talk to the original creditor if it's there. And, another option would be taking it to corporate in writing. That way you have documented proof. So that's what we know so far. What else do you got for us?
Okay, so outside of that, really, we're going to start stepping into more credit repair. And I always tell people, you can do your own credit repair, or you can come and talk to someone like me that will handle the process for you. But basically, it's going to be the same no matter how you look at it. So anytime you have a debt, the first thing we want to do is validate that debt. So just to make sure that if it is with a third-party debt collector, do they have the right to even be collecting the debt? Or can they do business in the state that you're in? Can they send you the details of the account, which a lot of times they can't. But they'll get the basics, and usually what ends up happening is they just send you a copy of the bill, right? So when they buy something from the original creditor, they usually just get a bill, and then they make up a bunch of fake documents, and then they try to pass that off as proof, which is pretty funny to me. But that's going to be the first thing that you want to do. So you want to try to validate the debt. So you send in a letter to the credit bureaus. They're going to open up an investigation with that the debt collector to provide the items that you're requesting. So again, when was the debt? When did it come about? How much do you owe? Do they have like proof that they can be doing business, or that they're the ones that's supposed to be collecting on the debt? Is there a contract that was signed that shows that they bought that debt from Cox, in fact? Because again, who's to say that it means anything?
Right.
And a lot of times when you get that contract from these people, again, it does not look like anything. It's like they went to a notary and they gave a statement saying that this debt is legal based off of our knowledge, and then they sign it. Like the same person signs it. So there's no one from Cox that would sign that debt, at least that I haven't seen yet. I'm waiting to see it, but until then, they don't sign anything. It's all like some mid person that just does a bunch of stuff that doesn't even hold up in court. So you validate the debt first, and then you see if that's going to be there. Now, if that is in fact correct, one of the fortunate things when it comes to third-party debt collectors is that they usually don't report things very accurately. So you just want to look for any and every possibility of an inaccuracy that's going to be on your credit report without going too deep into it and making this complicated. Worst case scenario, just go speak with a credit specialist. Even if you don't get hired by one, at least have a conversation with them so they can kind of walk you through the specific details of your situation, because every person is going to be different. And so we're looking for different things, but there's two things you can do. You can factual dispute, which is what a normal person would do. Or if you go to a professional, they may use something called Metro 2 attacks. Not important for you guys. But factual disputing, finding something that is wrong with your credit report, and then stating that you notice that this is inaccurately reporting on your credit report, and you would like to have this account removed from your credit report.
Awesome.
Okay? And then you just need like two forms of ID, mail that into the credit bureaus, and then you're good to go. So that would be the third option.
Okay.
All
right. So you've got some free options, which Jonas has already shared with you, and those are simply you taking the time to make those phone calls, getting to the decision maker, explaining the story, all times being nice and polite and courteous to them. And if you don't get the answer, Jonas, that you're looking for with that manager, call back. Talk to others. You can also talk to the company that sold the debt, the original creditor. But if you are looking for professional help and you go through these steps and you say, I just can't do this on my own, I'm not getting anywhere, or maybe you just don't want to deal with it, I've put Jonas's contact information in the description below. Jonas has been working with me and my clients. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a branch manager and a loan originator, so I deal with people every day who have judgments and bankruptcies and late payments and collections. And, look, life happens. Don't beat yourself up if you're in that situation. But I can tell you, after 4.5 years of working with Jonas and his team, I have not come across anyone else that is able to not just provide a high level of service, but more importantly, get results. So you'll find his contact information in the description below. Come highly recommend it. Make sure when you talk with him, when you reach out and schedule a time with him, make sure to let him know that, hey, I heard you on Rod's YouTube channel. That way we know that this information is helpful. Jonas, in closing, is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, the only thing that I'm going to say is that you want to always ask twice anytime you're speaking with the debt collector or even with the original creditor. So, for example, if I say, hey, if I pay you, will you remove this information from my credit report? A lot of times they'll say, yes, if you make a payment, we'll update this account for you. Okay? Which does not mean removing. It means they're going to update it, which means bring the balance to zero.
Shows it is paid, but it's still in a collection. Right.
That's right. That's right.
To make sure remove.
Very, very important. Yep, it looks like this. When I pay you, will you remove this account from my credit report? Yes, we're going to update it for you. Okay, just to be clear, once I make this payment, it will be as if your company never existed on my credit report. No information from your company will be there. Is that correct? So 2 steps when you ask.
Perfect. Well, Jonas, thank you so much for your time and sharing this information. We appreciate it. Look forward to having you back.
Sure thing. My pleasure, Rod.
Well, thanks for watching. I hope you found this information helpful, and if you did, then do us a favor. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, clicking that bell right there to get notified when more helpful content just like this is posted, and do us a bigger favor and put some feedback in the comments. Tell us your thoughts, or maybe another video that you would like to see. This helps the algorithm push us out to more information, and we will see you. Also, make sure to check out this next video below for more ways to improve your credit scores. And we'll see you next time on Ask the lender.